Hello and welcome to Admit One, your movie and TV podcast right here on Rabbit Hole Media. I am one of your hosts, Jack Nedley Thompson, and this time I am joined, as always and as usual, by one Kristian Lasham.
Hello, friend.
Hello, friend. How are you, friend?
I am well.
Excellent. You're very nautical. I was just saying that this is my best attempt at a Smee cosplay, so I'm glad it's sinking in.
Hey.
This is Admit One, your movie and TV podcast right here on Rabbit Hole Media. If you like what you're doing, and what you're doing is watching us, you can follow us on Twitter at rabbithole_UK. You can subscribe to us on YouTube where you can see us anytime that you wish. You can follow us on Twitch at Rabbit Hole Media, and you can subscribe and follow on multiple different podcast services on and around the internet.
Indeed.
And now you can follow us on Instagram at rabbithole_media_UK for all the behind the scenes tits and bits. If you would like to support us, head to merch.rabbitholemedia.co.uk for a wide range of merchandise have recently got wider. And finally, if you are watching us live on Twitch and are an Amazon Prime member, you get one free Twitch Prime membership a month. Please find it within your heart to give that membership to us. Doesn't cost you a penny, but goes a very long way into helping us bring you the shows that you love.
That it does.
Today, we are talking about a movie that happened. It's called Mission Impossible 2. There. It's largely all I have to say about that movie. No. An interesting direction, I would say. From what we saw last week, I feel this is an interesting direction.
Yeah. Now, you see, I'm interested, because again, it's my first time watching through these films. I've not seen them before. The only one I've seen up at this point is Fallout. So, I'm intrigued. What words do I want to use here? Let me think before I talk. I'm interested to see about your choice of words saying an interesting direction, and you kind of, like you said, a few more negative thoughts about Mission Impossible 2 when you spoke to me previously. I wonder exactly what it is about it that you feel that way, and if that's in context with the rest of the films. Because I didn't think it was too bad. I do think it had a lot of pacing issues.
I exaggerate. It's not too bad, but when the rest of the franchise is that good, it does stand out, but it's not too bad. My main issues are like weird editing choices.
I got a lot of things to say about that.
Weird editing choices. God fucking awful acting.
Yep. Really
nonsensical action. John Woo's way, but this is not his best iteration of it. And it's just like they're trying to combine John Woo's style with Mission Impossible, and it's like trying to combine Banoffee.
I see.
With
I see where you're going.
A windscreen wiper. Like they don't work. They don't work together.
It's weird. Like there are elements of this that I enjoyed more than the first one, and there were a lot of things which stood out as like, oh, this isn't good. The main one for me was the pacing. Like I felt like the pacing of this film was so slow. Mm-hmm. Like it's about 2 hours long, and it felt like fucking forever at points. Like there was a point where I paused it to get up to go to the toilet and I was like, I've still got 45 minutes left of this.
Well, because I was in chat with you while I was watching it last night, and I just ran around. I've still got 51 minutes left of this movie.
It's strange because there are elements of it I do think were good at the same time, but there's a lot of things I want to talk about, strange things I noticed as the film went on. Mainly editing decisions and stuff like that, and just production things. I was like, some of this feels... It's strange because so many of it is like, that's clearly a decision you've made, but there are other elements of the production which are really very good. So it's like, how have you got it so like juxtaposed with yourself?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it's strange.
Hannah put he's the only director on Mission Impossible who didn't get invited back. Didn't get invited at all, or do you mean didn't come back? Because there are other directors that haven't come back, but I guess I assume you mean he was just not asked, and the others were asked and just didn't. And did, like J.J. Abrams, for example. He did the next one, but he hasn't done any since. And also says it was supposed to be 3.5 hours long. They made him cut a load, so apparently that's why it doesn't make too much sense. I think it makes sense, fine. Yeah. Plot-wise, I think it makes sense enough.
Yep, I do. I actually found the plot easier to follow than the first one, but I was paying more attention this week. Yes. So it's still possible that the first one I didn't understand, just because I wasn't watching. I followed it. I think it made sense. It wasn't a particularly interesting plot and was predictable in a few places. And
was it a 3D film? I don't think it could have been. It was like 2003.
2000, I think, was what it said on Amazon as I rented it.
Oh.
First one was 96.
Yeah, I think the first one 96.
Should we find out?
2000 probably sounds about right.
Do a double check. Yeah, 2000.
Fair enough. 2000, so I doubt it was a 3D film.
I'll have a look. It will tell me in the technical details on IMDb, right? Technical specs.
The first 3D film came out in 1922, just so you know.
Yeah, it was the red and green glasses ones. So not digital 3D, but no, not according to the technical specs. Just your standard kind of stuff. Yeah, filmed on 35mm.
Call back to Saturday. I missed it.
I've missed something there. Yeah,
I missed what the callback was, I'm afraid. So if it was us that did it, that's even more awkward, isn't it? So yeah, let's get into a bit of more general thoughts. Like, this movie's fine. I think at the grand scheme of things, it's fine. Like, It's not the worst movie in the world by any means. There are some fucking weird choices in terms of editing the action. Spinning does not make you bulletproof. I just want to point that out there, Mr. Cruise. Just because you've done this to get away, it does not mean you're bulletproof. And the amount of, like, that shot where he does the endo and spins to then do the gun, but the camera cuts so he starts spinning like 40 times.
Yeah, there's
loads of weird stuff.
Spoilers. I'm just going to put spoilers from here.
I mean, doing an endo in this movie isn't particularly fair enough.
We're in spoilers. But there's a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of cuts where it would do that. It would like be a lot of slow motion shots.
Yep.
That would repeat themselves.
Really bad slow motion shots.
Really bad slow motion shots. It would cut to a different angle, but that cut to a different angle would be jumping back a few seconds or a few moments.
It's a backwards wheelie.
Yeah, on
Hannah
a bike.
says, "What's an endo?" On a bike, so you go the
up.
back wheel going up.
Sorry. Yeah. There's a lot of that. Like there was a big, the big shot at the end. Like let's go right at the very end with spoilers here, where he flicks the gun up at the sand with his foot, catches it in midair, turns around, drops, lands on his side, and goes bang. That would have been better if it wasn't shot the way it was. If that was just a quick boom, 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 done. That would have had more impact. But because it was like flick
but
up,
it was super cool.
It wasn't though, was it? It wasn't at all. It was just like it's lost the impact of that moment. 'Cause it was like flick up, right? Oh, we're going back to him spinning. He's spinning some more. He's now caught it. He's spinning. He's caught it a second time. He's falling. He's falling.
He's caught it a third time.
He's caught it again. He's falling. He's shot him. Well, we haven't seen him get shot, but we've seen him react to being shot. Like the cut there, like it was gunfire, and then when it cuts back to the guy's name, I can't remember Ambrose.
Yep.
When he's being hit, you don't see him get hit. Like there's a jump cut of like a second and a half probably because bullets move fast. Because it's him, like, he's already over here going, oh, I've been shot. By the time the camera cuts back to him, it just feels so... So many of the shots do that. So many times. And it puts so much gratuitous, bad slow motion with these strange jump cuts. And it just always feels so unnatural to watch every time it happens and jarring. And it's disappointing because like the choreography of what they're doing and what Tom Cruise is doing and what the stunts are actually really good. but it's kind of ruined by those kind of shots. I was thinking when I was watching it, the kind of final stunt sequence when he's escaping the lab or wherever it was, and the helicopter, and he's being chased by cars, and he's running and he's sprinting, and his bikes are jumping over him, and he's shooting him, and he's jumping on a bike. Like, the sequence was choreographed well. Like, it was obviously a bit Hollywood, but that's the point of the film, so that's fine. This whole sequence was choreographed really well. And there was elements of it which was really good. And I was watching and I was like, oh, this actually feels like some good high-octane action to an extent. But every now and then, one of those shots would be this strange slow-motion thing that recuts itself. And it just... Yeah, it really kind of took you out of like, oh, this could be so much better. Mm-hmm. I couldn't work out if it was a sign of the time. But then I was like, well, the first one didn't do this. And
no, it's very much a John Woo thing. All of his movies are like this. But John Woo is very much more like the Hong Kong action film, the like traditional Jackie Chan film.
Yeah, it had that vibe.
And Chow Yun-fat, all of his movies, and like it works for that type of film because that's the point of that type of film. But when you put it across into like a Western action film, like particularly something like Mission Impossible, obviously you only had one film to go off at the time. Oh, for God's sake, Richard! But when you try and put it over across into some like Western action film, it just feels weird and janky because the rest of the film isn't there to complement that. Yep. So it just stands out. It's like if he had gone full hog and just made like an Eastern action film, it would have been fine. Yeah. But he made it to be a Western movie with these weird editing styles, and it felt particularly off.
Yeah. It was weird as well, because the other thing that kept happening in a lot of these action sequences that I found particularly odd was the stage combat, because obviously, of course, it's stage combat, it's film, looked shit. Yeah. Like, you could see they weren't making contact with each other, and I know they're not making contact with each other, but when it's filmed well, which it often is, it's believable, like, but it just looked you can physically see you're not punching each other. You can physically see your fist miss him, like over and over again. Again, one of the ones that stood out to me was when he was fighting Ambrose on the beach, and he does this big high kick to his face, and Ambrose does this slow motion. He clearly jumps backwards, but you can see his foot is nowhere near him. Like, you can just see it, and it's so bad. I can't work out how even Tom Cruise didn't go, no. Like, Tom Cruise, who famously in that film made a point of wanting to do as much of his own stunts as possible to make it look believable because he doesn't believe in cheating. How he didn't look at those shots and go,
kind of come,
this doesn't look right, John.
More recently, that kind of aspect. The Tom Cruise doing his own stuff. I know.
Well, he did it in this.
I know he did some. Like,
I was reading it. So I was reading about it today. There's a thing where specifically he had on-set issues with John Woo because John Woo didn't want Tom Cruise to do the stunts, and Tom Cruise wanted to do as many of the stunts as possible. So it started around this era. I know he obviously gets more into it as some of the films go on.
It goes mad. The insurance for Tom Cruise must be ridiculous.
Yeah. I imagine they just don't insure him. I imagine they go, no. Hi, Caden.
But hello. But there's one shot in particular that made action shot that maybe just why? Like, even though it doesn't look that bad, it was just one of those. This is unnecessary, and no one in their right mind would do this. Where he's just arriving on the island towards the very end, sneaks up towards that guy, does everything possible to make sure people hear him, and then does a flip and just lets his leg land on him.
There's a lot of that.
You could be like napping on a beach and someone do that to you, and you're just like, what are you doing? Like, it's just a leg landing on you. It would be a bit of impact, but
yeah,
it wouldn't knock you out,
no,
which it did, particularly because it hit him in the gut, and he just went, oh. And like, all right, that seems completely unnecessary. But I mentioned I laughed while watching it yesterday, and I mentioned it to you. The strangest, stupidest transition. And I laugh at this every time I see this movie, because even though I don't like it very much at all, I do still watch it every time I watch Mission Impossible.
Hannah says, I actually wrote notes in this film and wrote, quote, why leg jump?
When towards the very beginning of the film, just before you first meet Tandy Newton, and it goes to the... so they kind of do it multiple times, but they just don't use it as a transition at that point. They first go to the flamenco wipe. Yes, that's such a better way of describing it than I tried to describe it to Kristian earlier.
I feel like I
flamenco wipe.
I missed this shot somehow.
Like, I'm gonna have to find it for you after we finish.
Okay.
Because I would do it now, but it would take me too long, and it wouldn't be particularly interesting. But yeah, and then they kind of do it, when they're staring. Also in my notes, they're kind of staring across the dancers to each other, and they keep doing these weird, seemingly CGI dresses just swoop across their face to switch between the two, and it was just that, but kind of just someone just going across the screen to change scene. I was like, that's one way to do it, I suppose. That was in the editing being like, we don't have it. It's kind of just a cut at this point to the new scene. There's no transition whatsoever. I know. Probably cracks me up. It's one of those, I don't understand how this made it into the movie.
There's a lot of that throughout this movie where you kind of question how it made it in. I feel that.
Some dubbing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Fuck, what's it called? ADR.
Yep.
Some of the ADR. Oh my Lord. It's so bad. It doesn't sync up properly. They're either speaking with more or less emphasis than they were on the day. That doesn't play up. Their accents, I swear some of them are just their accents anyway, but yet they're still terrible. So I guess they just, in real life, have terrible accents. But there's so many, and they're all bad. We've got a Scottish, Australian, and South African accent that all suck. But even though I'm pretty sure that they are Scottish, Australian, and South African, so I don't understand. Did they just switch? Was the Scottish guy actually South African? The Australian was actually Scottish. I don't understand how those accents were so bad. But even Tom Cruise wasn't great in this movie.
No,
the South African guy was Australian. Oh, okay, fair enough. Why didn't they just have him be Australian?
Yeah, movies do this a lot, and I've never been able to work it out. Where they hire someone,
there was nothing plot. There was no plot relevance to him being South African.
Change the character's nationality from what the actor is for no reason. It happens all the time.
I know, exactly. That's pretty much the answer to everything in this movie. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. You can even get the sense that, because Tom Cruise and Tandy Newton are both very good actors in their own right, so you kind of get this feeling that even both of those were just phoning it in at this point.
Chair issues today.
Just stop rolling away.
I'm trying not to.
Hannah says, for the last 20 plus years, I thought he was Sean Pertwee. I only found out this weekend he wasn't. Who's Sean Pertwee?
Who are we referring to in this?
Yeah, I'm assuming we're still on the topic of the South African Australian.
We're still on the topic of Mission Impossible too.
What overall, yes. Surprising, because we are 18 minutes in and we haven't deviated yet.
Yeah.
So
we'll
the new
Spider-Man.
Now we have to talk about that on Saturday. If you IMDb Sean Pertwee, I'm on it.
You'll see what I mean.
I'm on it.
I also feel like a lot of the plot points and what happens in this film is very, very coincidental as well.
Yeah. A lot of it is. Oh, sorry. Before we move, I want to talk about something else ridiculous. The cars spinning in unison to their doom.
Yes.
Have you seen a crash?
Also, a completely unnecessary sequence.
Oh, for sure.
There was a lot of this. This is irrelevant.
Why was that slow motion? Why was that so long? You would have gotten to the point. Well, obviously, you would have gotten to the point quicker, but you would have got the same point across if it just went, oh no, catch.
Yeah.
None of this.
Also, I don't get the point, because the point is almost like it's supposed to be her building trust to him. It's kind of what I implied, but it was his fucking fault. He did it. Well,
yeah, but he hit her to stop her hitting the other car. That's what he.
Yeah, but he was driving up her ass and distracting her and whatnot. It was his fault. He was driving like a bell end.
She was looking backwards, so I would still blame her.
She's just as bad, but if he wasn't driving up her ass and making snarky comments at her, she wouldn't have looked backwards.
Oh, yeah, it's
Just
true.
saying, he aggravated this situation. He
Rise
started
above it. You got to rise above it and ignore them.
Yeah.
Ignore the twat in the BMW.
Yeah. Like dickhead with 8 fucking DPD vans.
Yes.
But yeah, weird. And there was a lot of stuff that was just like, to me, the idea of what this disease, this virus said manufactured, all a little bit too close to home, by the way. That conveniently can be cured perfectly with this one thing within 20 hours. It's just like, oh, okay, right, seems lucky, doesn't it? That there happens to be this perfect antidote.
Well, they designed the same people designed the virus and the antidote at the same time.
I know, it just all feels very like...
The 20 hours thing is nonsense.
It didn't feel like there was a risk because we knew that existed, and it was just, okay, and it's like... as everything goes through and does it, as soon as she injects herself with it, it's like, oh, okay, great, she's sacrificed herself. Woo.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when films do that kind of thing in a plot, it always just feels so weightless to me. And I know it's not supposed to be a particularly heavy film, but
I see what you mean. I know what you mean, though. Another weird thing was the soundless neck snap at the very beginning of the movie on the plane. That's how you know when they forget to put a sound effect in. That's how you know the quality of the motion picture you were about to watch. Unnecessary flip check when he jumps out the window.
Yep.
Just stay alive. He says, "Stay alive." Jumps out the window, does a flip to pull his parachute for some reason. I was like, so you've gone from being in this position, flipping to this position, so you can pull your parachute out. What a waste of time.
Talking about unnecessary things, that reminds me. Hannah, what was the tally on the face rips, please?
Oh, yes, please. But I hope that you did a tally this week.
Hannah also says, why would you leave 4 doses of a virus in Sydney but take all of the antidote on a plane with you to Atlanta?
Shits and giggles.
All just feels a little bit like, okay.
Shits and giggles.
5
face rips.
Lord. And that's the thing as well that I get is kind of like a comical cliche of the series. But why do they just all have these very unrealistically lifelike masks with them?
Well, the IMF had them, and then the bad guys had them this time because he's ex-IMF.
So it's the bit at the end when he obviously does the swap. So he puts, what's the guy's name? The guy that had his pinky cut off.
South African.
Careful.
What? It was just the South African.
But when he does the swap with him, it was just like, it was very convenient. You happen to have those masks with you to do that, wasn't it? And just like, I don't know. I just like, I'm having to really suspend my disbelief for some of it.
Yeah, I will from here on. Hugh Stamp. Thank you, Hannah. You're on form today. What?
It's got IMDb next to it. Don't be falling for this.
Yeah, Hugh Stamp. It gets a little bit less egregious. They bring in like the manufacture of these, like that's involved.
Well, if I remember rightly, by Fallout at least, aren't they more like a digital thing that they put on, or have I made that up?
I think it's like a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Combination of the two, but like in the next couple, like you see them like being printed and what have you, and like they bring that. It's not just something that just appears out of thin fucking air.
Which seemingly at the moment they do.
Yes, it does seem that way. It does. I'm going to try and remember all 5. So you had the very, very beginning.
They've also just improved drastically since the first film, because like that first mask that you see Tom Cruise wearing in the first film, he's very clearly wearing a prosthetic.
Tom Cruise, other than when he's wearing John Voight's face.
Other than when he's wearing John Voight's face. But it's just like a very quick advance in the technology. Absolutely.
But very much comes from a 5'6" man pretending to be someone who's 5'11". That's where that conversation in the Discord was initiated. I'm going to try and remember all 5 of them So you had, at the very beginning, Sean Ambrose pretending to be Dmitri, or Russian Tom Cruise. Or Tom Cruise pretending to be Russian. You had Sean Ambrose being Tom Cruise again later in the movie. You have Tom Cruise pretending to be Hugh Stamp. 3. You have...
I don't remember.
I can't remember the other two. What were the other two?
Hannah, you're on form.
What were
Give me
the other
answers.
two? Hannah, inform us. Inform us. Everyone else is being really quiet, so we're just going to pick on you for all chat today. Not pick on you, but as in select you for interaction. That sounds so bad. I apologize. We will select you for Hugh Stamp inadvertently pretending to be... Yeah, Tom... I get you. Yeah, so that one same scene was 2 people, because it was Tom Cruise pretending to be Hugh Stamp, and then...
Yes.
So that was 2. So there's one more. If there's 5, there's one more. No, there isn't. That is 5. Sorry. Sorry. So you had the 2... Yeah, there was one more. The 2 Sean Ambrose being Ethan Hunt. Ethan Hunt being Hugh Stamp. Hugh Stamp.
Tom
Yes,
Cruise
he
being
does
Russian
do that.
scientist.
Yes.
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 You are correct.
Yes. Thank you, Hannah.
Right, now we've cleared that up. Thank you all for watching. Well done, Matt. Matt is owning it. Good on
Coming
you.
in with the save. Yeah, I just think overall this is a very bizarre movie with very odd editing choices. This is definitely the lowest. So you're welcome. I think we've watched my least favourite 2 now. I really like number 1, but it's, I think 3, 4, 5, and 6 all kind of ascend from here, in my opinion.
I have to admit, I do agree there are problems with it, and I had all those issues with the editing things and the slow motion stuff, etc. Blah 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 blah. But I did find myself, even though I felt like the pace was slow and it dragged, I did find myself enjoying watching this film more than I did the first one, though.
That's fair enough.
Strangely.
They are very different types of films, to be fair.
Yeah, and again, that could very much just be a mood thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it could entirely be a mood thing. And as I say, that first one I was struggling to follow because I was distracted for some of it. You know, I was watching it in bits and bobs. Stopped to go and answer the door, stopped to answer the phone, stopped to sort something out with the cat. I paused it once today because I needed a wee. You know, it's like, I just wasn't distracted in the same way. So I was able to engage more. Perhaps if I went for the first one again and could focus, and perhaps I'd enjoy it a bit more. Hannah says, I love that Ambrose's house was made out of polystyrene instead of using a real house.
I don't know what that just made me laugh. That tickled me. That did. Yeah. So I kind of feel the first 3, and we'll get into it more next week because then we can kind of retroactively talk about them. The first 3 have very different vibes to each other and kind of to the rest of them, and then 4 is kind of where Mission Impossible finds its footing on what it is and what it will be going forward. Because then 4, 5, and 6, while being quite different movies and all that, very much have their tone, their place, their style. But so you have traditional spy movie that's very much like essentially a cliche now, as you said last week, just because everything has taken from this film and kind of done it in several different ways. You have this, which is just the nonsensical action movie, and I feel next week one kind of focuses more on performances, which is why I like it so much. So I think that's going to be a good time watching.
I did enjoy, I want to have a special mention to a line from Anthony Hopkins near the beginning, when he says, well, I can't remember exactly what Tom Cruise says, but Anthony Hopkins says, this is Mission Impossible, not Mission Difficult, and I enjoyed that. I very much enjoyed that line. Mainly because I've seen a comedian, I can't remember who it is, I want to say Ed Byrne, makes a joke about the Mission Impossible movies and how the name doesn't make sense because they're called Mission Impossible, but he always he always succeeds in the mission. So really, the film should be called Mission. It's a bit tricky, but he'll do it. And it's a funny joke, but the joke is in the film. So now I'm angered by this comedian. There you go. That's my little anecdote for you.
Well, you literally have an organization called the Impossible Mission Force.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're presenting an organization and you say Impossible Mission Force, it's like, so your success rate will be 0. Why would we start this? Hannah said, as you hate the fast talking in What If, how the hell do you watch anything with Anthony Hopkins in? I rarely do.
Yeah. We tolerate him for a few roles that he's in.
Or it really works, or I watch the movies where he slowed down. Silence of the Lambs, for example, is a very good movie. And Hannibal is okay, as is Red Dragon. But Silence of the Lambs is, but I'm sorry. So, do you know what those movies... I'm assuming you know what those movies are, even if you haven't seen them.
I've not seen them. I've heard
of them.
yes.
So obviously the Hannibal Lecter books, Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, and Hannibal. That is the trilogy. So they decided to make the films Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, Red Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Pissed me off.
I see.
To high heavens.
Hannah says, also the acronym for the Impossible Mission Force is the same as for the International Monetary Fund and therefore would get confusing.
Clearly in this universe, they either don't care or don't have an International Monetary Fund. Either is possible, unlike their missions. Also, this one didn't seem particularly impossible. This was, that man has a vial, shoot him.
Yes.
Seemed reasonably easy. The first one, and you can kind of, whilst they seem to pull it off with relative ease, you can understand why it would be more classed as impossible, because you want to steal files from the CIA, and they do get more drastic from there. But yeah, it just seems very cocky.
Nothing about that
this
sounds
mission
impossible,
was
Hannah.
fuck your ex-boyfriend to find out what he's up to.
That's the sequence when they went to the races.
Yes.
Frustrated me for a number of reasons. First reason is I don't believe that Ambrose wouldn't have noticed that she was talking to someone.
I mean, he was never there when she was talking.
When she's like finishing the conversation and he comes up behind her, he's right behind her.
Oh, yeah. No, there is some full-on movie logic where all sound is directional. And
yes, you can hear someone that's facing away.
You know that kind of.
Watch this. Because if I do this, it's really. When I turn around again, you can hear me.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Really bizarre.
Exactly.
When I come back here, you can hear everything.
Exactly. But they do it all the time though, where they're like. I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the other day. And they were in the Quinjet, like 2 people sat up front. I was like, I do think he's all right. I was like, he's 3 feet away. He can hear you. I don't care if you would still hear.
Yeah,
and then you would mosey over and go, the fuck you saying about me? I highly doubt you're talking about your recipe for potato salad. I don't think you feel the need to whisper that. You're talking about me.
That irritated me as well in that scene was when she puts the thing back in his pocket and she puts it in the wrong pocket.
Yep.
Like they made such a point of that she had put it in the wrong pocket. It was like, well, he's clearly going to work that out because you've made it so obvious that you've kind of ruined a reveal that happens a little bit later. Whereas if they had done it kind of a bit more casually and then had said it when he got the thing and he'd be like, yeah, check my right pocket. And then they maybe did like a flashback of her slipping it in the wrong pocket or something. Like, I feel like it would have been better.
Yeah, I kind of feel like a lot of people would have missed it unless they had made a point that it was in his left pocket.
They had made a point it was in his left pocket.
Had they?
Yeah, that was the whole thing originally. They said like 8 times when she was taking it. They were like, it's in the left pocket. And she's like, left pocket? Oh, okay. Yeah, left jacket pocket.
In which case, that would have been fine. As you know, I wasn't paying any.
Yeah, so when she first takes it and when they're finding out where the envelope is, they mention it's in her left pocket a fair few times to really drill that in. But then,
So yeah, that would have been better. But as you say, pretty much everything.
like you can show her slipping it in the wrong pocket.
but don't do the.
Yeah, and they did, and they did such a it zoomed in and went really slow motion again, and she slipped it in her pocket. They put so much focus on it. It was like, well, that's clearly foreshadowing something for later, which was revealed in like the next scene. So it just it took the impact out of that line of him being smart and realizing.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there was the element of he didn't have to look; he just knew. But even then, they kind of showed him. They showed like a shot of him, didn't they?
They showed him like he kind of pulls the binoculars away and kind of looks.
Yeah.
To feel like you're putting that back in the wrong place.
It just felt odd. Like I just feel like there's better ways you can do that.
Obviously, there's better ways you could do everything in this movie.
Well, yeah, fair enough.
But it's pretty much. Although she's an international thief, not an international putterbacker.
Oh, putterbacker. I read that as putterbacker. What is wrong with me? I thought you meant someone like just financially supported golf clubs.
But yeah, you kind of get. You're this far in life, and yet you can't remember what pocket something was in.
She was distracted.
By some
was talking to her
Scottish
new hot
chest. Yes. Or ex-boyfriend. But anyway, this has been Admit One, your movie and TV podcast, right here on Rabbit Hole Media. If you like what you're doing and what you're doing is watching us, you can follow us on Twitter at rabbithole_UK. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can see us anytime that you wish. You can follow us on Twitch at Rabbit Hole Media, and you can subscribe and follow on multiple different podcast services on and around the internet.
Indeed.
And now you can follow us on Instagram at rabbithole_media_UK for all the behind the scenes tits and bits. You can head to if you would like to support us, head to merch.rabbitholemedia.co.uk for a wide range of merchandise that recently got wider. He loves carrots. And finally, if you are watching us live on Twitch and are an Amazon Prime member, you get one free Twitch Prime membership a month. Please find it within your heart to give that membership to us. It doesn't cost you a penny, but goes a very long way into helping us bring you the shows that you love. And given that Twitch is now a cuck bastard, we need it now more than ever. Hannah says, can I just say, as much as we don't like MI2, without it, we'd never have got Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, so we should be thankful. That is very true. That is actually true.
Tell me more about this, please.
Dougray Scott was lined up to play Wolverine, but declined it for this movie.
Oh, well, there you go.
So a combination of him and Russell Crowe
Wow. Yeah, it's good.
is why we have Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
I still can't believe that Hugh Jackman was in the Spider-Man trailer.
Rich, Saturday. That's when we'll talk about the Spider-Man trailer on the. Obviously, talk amongst yourselves as much as you want. I'm not trying to dictator my way through your conversations, but on the show we will talk about the Spider-Man trailer on Saturday.
I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Hannah says, I thought he had to decline because this film massively overrun because of Eyes Wide Shut. Entirely possible. To be fair, I could be wrong on that one. But anyway, remember, as just mentioned, this Saturday we will be back with Admit One, talking about episode 3 of What If, immediately followed by Press Start, our weekly gaming podcast, hosted by this gem. Rich says, is it Charlie on Saturday? In theory, who the fuck knows, frankly.
Word for word what I was thinking. Verbatim.
In theory, I'd like it to be, because it would be nice to have Charlie back on the show, but that is something we'll need to figure out. And then next week on Tuesday, we'll be back again, talking about Mission Impossible 3 live at...
Yes, it will be next week.
8 p. It's the Tuesday after that. That has a Mission Impossible break.
Yeah. You see what I was doing in my head?
Yes.
I was calculating before I was questioning, but I realised how my face raised the idea of concern.
Absolutely. I will... Next week we will talk about what's happening with the week after, so you have time to prepare. But
no, you don't. Go and watch Shang-Chi as soon as it comes out. You don't have long before we talk about it. That's...
You have until the 7th. It comes out on you have 4 days.
Yeah, the only reason I'm saying is because last time we did the Suicide Squad, we gave people a similar kind of time frame, and people didn't get it, weren't able to go and get it watched.
We gave people longer, but also it's a film less people give a shit about.
I appreciate that. I just feel like if we give the notice now that the Tuesday after the launch of Shang-Chi will be our Admit One. I don't know who's going to be on it yet. I don't think we've discussed with the team who would like to be on it, but
anyone on the team is welcome.
Yes.
Depends who's seen it.
yes, exactly. So work out closer to it, but just
Exactly.
put it in your
We'll
calendar.
work that out at the time. But yes, so quick roundup because we rambled and you've probably all forgotten.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Saturday, Admit One for What If Episode 3, followed by Press Start. Next Tuesday, Mission Impossible 3, and so on, so forth. Thank you, lovely people, for joining. Thank you for chatting with me, Kristian.
Oh, you're very welcome, Jackery.
Thank you for having me in your home.
It's okay.
So I can ramble at people.
Many of these things are yours, so...
Technically, yes. However, they would have been rained on long ago if you didn't provide the roof. So, thank you everyone for joining, and until next time, we shall see you then.
Toodly pip. Toodly pip.